We open up this episode with Dunk laying under the tree, healing from the battle. He has a black eye and everything. Our boy's beat up pretty bad. Lionel and his maester come and the maester tells Dunk he's dying. After he basically examined his wound, and Lionel dismisses him and tells Dunk that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And shoos him away. But anywho, they get into an interesting conversation, and Dunk feels pretty bad about the death of Baelor Targaryen, and Lionel is basically like, screw that, you know, he was fighting against men who was born to protect him. He risked nothing. Lionel basically offers him a place at Storm's End and tell him he would love him like a brother or hate him like one. So Lionel tells him that he's, leaving after the funeral. So I love me some Lionel. So next we cut to Baelor's funeral taking place, and we see, all the Targaryens standing around and his body burning, which is a part of their custom. So it's interesting that, there's no dragon there to light the flame, but they kept these practices in place. Dunk attends and chats with Baelor's son, and they have a little chat about why the gods would be so cruel to keep Dunk but take away his dad. Interesting take. He catches up with Raymond Fossaway, and apparently he's married now to this city girl. So he seems happy, and she is already pregnant, and clearly the baby is not his, but hey girl, get your hustle on, okay? If you could marry up, why not? Palace guards arrive and tell Dunk Maekar has summoned him. Dunk enters Maekar's study, and he tells him he's sending Aerion away to the free cities. As he should. Aerion is a whole demon. He tells Dunk hopefully that will change him. I never meant to kill my brother, he tells Dunk. His son Egg has grown fond of him and won't squire for anyone else. He offers him a position at Summer Hall. Dunk politely declines and tells him, I think I'm done with Princess. Dunk leaves and sees that Egg is sitting in the hallway. He speaks with Egg and just basically tells him that he needs some time away from royalty, etc. Like, he just feels pretty bad about what went down. And Egg responds, perhaps you're not the knight I thought you were, and walks away. Oh, poor Egg. Dunk appears to have a flashback of him chatting with Sir Arlen, and he asks, why have you never knighted me? He cries. So he admits that basically, Sir Arlen never knighted him, which explains why he was hesitant to knight Sir Raymond Fossaway at the beginning of the battle. So Sir Arlen basically just tells him a knight never finishes his story after faking, I guess, his death. And I can't tell this is just a flashback, or maybe if Dunk is just kind of reminiscing about him and putting things together in his own head. But I appreciated the scene. At least we got some clarification on whether or not he knighted Dunk. Dunk then runs into Daron at a tavern, and he basically shames him for being there and, being a drunkard. And Daron goes on and said, my brother wasn't always a little monster. And he thought that he was talking about Egg, but no, he was talking about Aerion and how kind he was, that he enjoyed fishing, and I guess the living up to masculine standards have basically turned Aerion this way. So, it was very telling. And I think this was the moment that Dunk realized that maybe he should take Egg on in hopes that he can possibly just become a better man than any of the other Targaryen men. Next, we see Egg is sitting in his room and notices his hair is growing back. He then enters Aerion's room with a knife in his hand and slowly approaches his bed. Ooh, poor Egg is holding on to a lot, and Aerion really treated him badly and was touching on him. So I totally understand why he would creep into his room and try to kill him. He notices his father Maekar sitting in a corner. Maekar gets up and embraces him. As tears fall from his eyes, he drops the knife. In this scene, I sense that Maekar was being empathetic and must have realized, if my baby boy is doing this, Aerion must have hurt him really badly. I don't think he knows exactly what Aerion was doing to Egg, but I think he gets the gist of that Aerion just needs to go away. And I sense that he really does love Egg. Next, we see Dunk tells Maekar he will take Egg on as his squire. Maekar responds, I thought you were done with Princess. He's the blood of the dragon. I won't have him living as a peasant. Dunk explains to him that he think him living amongst the small folk would do him some good, that he would one day grow up to be a good man. In the next scene, we see Raymond manages to get Dunk's white horse back, and Dunk is very grateful, and he basically tells him that her days of riding into battles are over, and he thinks that she's much more suited for lordship. And he basically tells Raymond he can have the horse. Aww, that is so sweet. And Raymond feeds her apple while asking her if you like apples. I thought this was cool. I really am enjoying their friendship. I'm loving the loyalty, and I think they'll be friends for a long time. Next, we see him getting ready to leave the town of Ashford, and little Egg pops up and tells him his father said he can serve him. As they begin to go on their journey, Egg informs him there are 9 kingdoms, which I found interesting because he went off and just named all of them, and little Egg was completely correct. So why do they say the 7 kingdoms? I wonder if they basically disregard just smaller houses of nobility. So it basically shrinks it down to 7, but there are really 9. That's pretty that's interesting. But nonetheless, they ride off on their own path as Sir Allens Goes rides off on his own path, which I think is just visually symbolizes that Dunk has let go of the past, and he has his knighthood, and he has his own squire, and he is forging his own path and legacy, which I just think is awesome. The episode fades to black, and next there's a mid-credit scene. And in this mid-credit scene, we see Maekar riding around looking for Egg. He has his guard, so where the fuck is he? Little Egg lied to Dunk. This may bring more drama Dunk's way in season 2, but you know what? I am here for it. I love the duo. I have just fallen in love with this series. I think this finale episode captured the aftermath of everything that went down in the trial of the 7, and war, battling, it's no game. Someone can get hurt or possibly killed, and as we can see, the realm lost their Prince Baelor. So this is basically going to have a trickle-down effect if you're familiar with the story and the books. This is basically the beginning of how little Aegon essentially becomes king, Aegon the Unlikely, because he was so far down on the line of succession. People were just surprised that he became king. So yes, I am so looking forward to season 2. I felt the cinematography was perfect. I like how this was a bit of a tonal shift because we were getting the story from the perspective of a small folk. Dunk isn't nobility. So I liked the tonal shift, but then there were moments that, you can tell that we were in the Game of Thrones world. So I really appreciate how this series just found that perfect balance to make it its own thing, but also, make it clearly known that it is a part of this universe. So nonetheless, I'm going to rate this final episode a solid A. I thought the dialogue and, covering the aftermath of everything was just pretty solid, and I'm so looking forward to next season. If you like this review, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.